The Cleveland Browns just suffered a collapse that has the entire city shaking its head in disbelief. A 34-10 loss to the Detroit Lions wasn't just another disappointing score. It was a statement. A statement about poor decision-making, stubborn coaching, and wasted talent. And at the center of this storm sits one man, Kevin Stefanski, the Browns' head coach, whose choices have fans, players, and even ownership questioning everything about this franchise's direction. The glaring headline from this disaster isn't just the scoreline. It's the fact that Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback touted as the franchise's future, didn't see a single snap. Again, the stadium echoed with chants demanding his presence, fans growing louder with every missed opportunity, yet Stefanski held fast to a failing plan. Meanwhile, Joe Flacco, the veteran starter, struggled mightily, completing just 61.1% of his passes for 184 yards, throwing 0 touchdowns, and committing 2 crushing interceptions that wiped out any momentum the team tried to generate. On the sideline, Sanders sat visibly frustrated, helmet in hand, a quiet reminder of what could have been if leadership had made different choices. Detroit didn't even have to play perfectly. Jared Goff and the Lions methodically tore through the Browns' defense, exposing gaps that should have been closed and exploiting weaknesses that should have been addressed. On the ground, Jahmyr Gibbs wore down the Cleveland defense with calculated precision. Every phase of the game highlighted just how far behind the Browns are, and every camera shot of Sanders on the bench served as another indictment of a coach unwilling to adapt. And this isn't just about a single game. It's about decades of frustration boiled down to one glaring truth. When a young, talented quarterback is ready to play, the Browns' leadership has a history of sitting on potential and prioritizing experience over results. Fans are furious. Social media is exploding with calls for change, and viral clips of Sanders' frustration are spreading like wildfire, fueling debates nationwide. Fire Stefanski, we want Sanders, and countless other hashtags dominate timelines, signaling a level of dissatisfaction that can't be ignored. Even ownership is reportedly at a breaking point. Jimmy Haslam, who has invested hundreds of millions into this franchise, is said to be questioning the rationale behind keeping Sanders benched while relying on a 40-year-old quarterback who is struggling to win games. Insider reports suggest heated discussions behind closed doors, with frustration building over a conservative approach that seems to contradict the very logic that led to drafting Sanders in the first place. Why invest in a 5th-round rookie if you're not going to give him meaningful playing time? By halftime of this game, the Browns weren't just losing. They were exposing an entire organizational philosophy built on hesitation, fear, and outdated thinking. Fans weren't just booing. They were demanding answers, frustrated with a team that has squandered opportunity after opportunity. And the story isn't over. The fallout from this game will ripple through the locker room, the front office, and the media, setting the stage for one of the most heated debates in recent Browns history. Will Shedeur Sanders finally get the chance he clearly deserves, or will another promising season slip away due to stubborn, conservative leadership? This isn't just a story about a game. It's about accountability, potential, and the high-stakes world of NFL decision-making. And the question everyone is asking is simple. How much longer can Cleveland afford to sit on its future? The Browns' 34-10 collapse against the Detroit Lions wasn't just a loss. It was a complete dismantling from start to finish. From the opening kickoff, it was clear that Cleveland was outmatched. Joe Flacco, the veteran quarterback tasked with leading this offense, looked overwhelmed almost immediately. He struggled to find any rhythm, completing just 184 yards while throwing 2 critical interceptions that killed what little momentum the team tried to generate. There were flashes of hope, like Quinshon Judkins grinding out 82 rushing yards and a touchdown, but even those efforts couldn't keep pace with Detroit's methodical domination. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel contributed almost nothing meaningful, leaving fans increasingly desperate for a spark. By halftime, frustration in Ford Field had reached a fever pitch. Fans weren't just disappointed, they were downright angry, chanting, "We want Shedeur," as if their voices could finally break through the stubborn coaching decisions on the sideline. Every incomplete pass, every stalled drive, and every missed opportunity became a spotlight on a larger problem. Cleveland had its most talented quarterback sitting idle, while veteran players failed to deliver. Detroit didn't even need to be perfect. Jared Goff dissected the Browns' defense with surgical precision, racking up 168 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs ran the ball effectively, methodically wearing down a defense that had otherwise been one of Cleveland's few bright spots this season. Every phase of the game, from offense to defense to special teams, highlighted just how unprepared and disjointed the Browns were. The scoreboard told a brutal story: 34 points for Detroit, 10 for Cleveland, and not a single moment where it felt like Cleveland could mount a serious comeback. And then there was the image that will linger: Shedeur Sanders sitting on the bench, helmet beside him, frustration written across his face. Every camera shot of him was a silent indictment of a coaching staff unwilling to adapt or recognize talent when it's staring them in the face. It wasn't just losing. It was an organizational collapse on national television, with every poor decision magnified for the world to see. By the end of the third quarter, the Browns weren't just losing the game, they were losing credibility. The Lions had exploited every weakness, and the Browns' inability to adjust or trust their young quarterback only amplified the damage. Fans, media, and even internal voices were already asking the same question: how much longer can a franchise ignore its future while continuing to fail in the present? Kevin Stefanski's decisions during the Browns' crushing defeat against the Detroit Lions have put his coaching philosophy under an intense national microscope. The most glaring criticism: his refusal to play Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback widely regarded as the franchise's future. Despite overwhelming statistical evidence and clear demonstrations of talent during college and preseason, Stefanski stubbornly stuck with Joe Flacco, a 40-year-old veteran whose performance this season has been far from convincing. Fans and media alike have been quick to call out the logic, or lack thereof, behind this decision. Flacco completed only 61.1% of his passes for 631 yards over 3 games, throwing 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Meanwhile, Sanders' final season at Colorado saw him complete 74.1% of his passes for 4,134 yards, with 37 touchdowns and just 10 interceptions. The contrast is undeniable: a young quarterback thriving under pressure versus a veteran struggling to stay afloat. Yet Stefanski continues to prioritize age and experience over performance and potential, a decision that has left the entire fan base and much of the national media incredulous. Criticism isn't just coming from fans. National analysts have been merciless. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith labeled Stefanski's approach "coaching scared," pointing out that the Browns are effectively wasting games with a veteran who cannot consistently perform while a dynamic rookie sits idle. NFL Network's Rich Eisen echoed these concerns, highlighting how modern NFL trends emphasize giving young quarterbacks meaningful playing time to accelerate development. The consensus is clear. A conservative, risk-averse approach may feel safe in theory, but in practice, it's costing the Browns games, credibility, and fan trust. The fallout from Stefanski's decisions has rippled throughout the organization. Multiple veteran players have privately expressed frustration, noting that the current quarterback rotation undermines offensive efficiency and wastes defensive efforts. Offensive linemen, in particular, have reportedly questioned why they must protect quarterbacks who struggle to consistently move the team down the field. Even within the front office, executives who advocated drafting Sanders are said to be exasperated, unable to reconcile their investment with the coaching staff's reluctance to utilize the rookie. Adding further pressure, Jimmy Haslam, the Browns' owner, reportedly confronted staff during the game, frustrated by the choice to bench Sanders. Sources suggest Haslam questioned why the organization invested a draft pick in a player they weren't willing to develop immediately. This high-stakes tension reflects the broader organizational dysfunction: misaligned priorities, outdated coaching philosophies, and a stubborn refusal to adapt in the face of clear evidence. In short, Stefanski's coaching decisions have become the focal point of a brewing crisis. Every week that Sanders remains on the sidelines, The Browns risk alienating their fan base, frustrating their roster, and losing what could be a transformative season. The combination of poor performance from veteran starters, mounting internal pressure, and public outrage has created an environment where the coach's choices are no longer merely questionable. They are under fire, demanding scrutiny, and for many, urgent change. The Cleveland Browns' organizational dysfunction doesn't stop at the coaching staff. Ownership and the front office are reportedly growing increasingly impatient as well. Jimmy Haslam, who has poured hundreds of millions into this franchise over the past decade, is said to be absolutely furious with how the quarterback situation has been handled. Multiple insiders claim Haslam stormed out of the press box during the Detroit game, demanding immediate answers on why Shedeur Sanders, the team's most promising young talent, hasn't seen meaningful action. It isn't just a single-game frustration. Haslam's anger reflects a growing concern over a pattern, investing in high-potential players only to watch conservative decision-making undermine their opportunities. Sources suggest he questioned why the Browns spent a fifth-round draft pick on Sanders if the coaching staff had no intention of giving him a fair chance to prove himself. Ownership's expectation is simple: maximize talent, give young players room to grow, and stop wasting games with ineffective veterans. Instead, they are witnessing exactly the opposite. The front office isn't immune to this tension. Executives who advocated drafting Sanders are reportedly frustrated and bewildered by Stefanski's reluctance to develop him. These staff members see Sanders as the long-term answer at quarterback, yet their vision clashes with a coaching staff clinging to outdated ideas of experience over potential. Insiders describe internal meetings growing increasingly heated, with debates over philosophy becoming tense and, at times, personal. The disconnect between the front office and coaching staff has created a fragile environment where communication breaks down and decisions are delayed, leaving the team's future hanging in the balance. Adding fuel to the fire, media scrutiny has amplified the pressure. Reports indicate that Haslam is aware of the growing national narrative, framing the Browns as a franchise unwilling to trust its young talent. Analysts across networks have criticized the organization for ignoring clear evidence of Sanders' ability, noting that every game spent on the bench is a wasted developmental opportunity. Ownership now finds itself balancing internal frustrations with external expectations, navigating a situation where every decision, or lack thereof, is being dissected publicly. Ultimately, the Browns' leadership faces a stark choice: continue allowing conservative coaching to dictate the team's fate, or intervene decisively to protect their investment in Sanders and the franchise's long-term future. As tensions simmer behind closed doors, it's becoming clear that this internal pressure cooker could be just as explosive as the frustration spilling onto the field and into fan conversations nationwide. The numbers tell a story that can't be ignored. Statistically, Shedeur Sanders represents a massive upgrade over the current Browns quarterbacks. Looking at Joe Flacco's early season performance, the contrast is striking. Over 3 games, Flacco has completed just 61.1% of his passes, totaling 631 yards with 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. His quarterback rating sits at a dismal 65.2, and the Browns have scored more than 13 points only once. These metrics illustrate an offense struggling to gain traction, relying on a veteran whose limitations are becoming painfully obvious. Now compare that to Sanders' final season at Colorado. He completed an impressive 74.1% of his passes for 4,134 yards, throwing 37 touchdowns against only 10 interceptions. His performance led the Buffaloes to a 9-4 record and a Big 12 championship appearance, all while playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in college football. Sanders consistently displayed poise under pressure, remarkable accuracy, and the kind of decision-making that separates a true franchise quarterback from a promising prospect. The statistical gulf between him and Flacco is staggering, and yet Sanders remains sidelined. Even more telling are the advanced metrics that highlight Sanders' readiness for the professional level. His yards per attempt, completion percentage under pressure, and touchdown-to-interception ratio all indicate efficiency and playmaking ability. Flacco, on the other hand, has struggled to create explosive plays, with a yards-per-attempt average of just 5, placing him near the bottom of starting NFL quarterbacks. Interceptions have doubled from previous seasons, a number that historically correlates with losing records and offensive instability. The evidence is hard to ignore. Sanders' production suggests not only immediate capability, but also the long-term potential to transform the Browns' offense. Statistical trends also emphasize how Sanders' skill set could maximize the team's other assets. Cleveland boasts talented receivers like Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, and Cedric Tillman, yet the offense has failed to capitalize due to inconsistent quarterback play. Sanders' accuracy, arm strength, and decision-making would likely unlock these weapons, creating opportunities the current starters simply haven't been able to generate. Even veteran teammates reportedly noticed his ability to read defenses quickly, deliver precise passes, and maintain composure under pressure, skills that are all supported by his collegiate statistics. Ultimately, the numbers don't just favor Sanders, they demand attention. College production, preseason success, and advanced metrics all point to a player ready to contribute immediately, yet the Browns continue to defer to veteran quarterbacks who cannot replicate these results. Every statistical category highlights the clear choice. Sanders is not a gamble. He is the rational, evidence-based path forward. Ignoring him isn't just frustrating. It's a missed opportunity to correct a team's trajectory and start building the offense around its most talented and capable quarterback. Inside the Cleveland Browns' locker room, frustration is reaching a breaking point. Multiple sources suggest that veteran players, who initially supported the coaching staff's conservative approach, are starting to question whether the current quarterback situation truly represents the team's best path forward. Offensive linemen, often silent on personnel decisions, are reportedly growing frustrated with protecting quarterbacks who struggle to move the ball downfield. One anonymous player allegedly told teammates, "We're getting our heads knocked off protecting guys who can't get us into the end zone. Something has to change." Defensive players, who have consistently kept the team competitive, are facing a similar dilemma. Despite holding opponents to just 17 points per game, the offense has averaged only 15.2 points, a number that ranks dead last in the NFL. Frustration is building as defensive efforts are negated by repeated offensive missteps. One defensive captain allegedly told reporters off the record, "We're doing our job, keeping teams out of the end zone, but we can't score points for them too. At some point, they have to figure out how to put the ball in the end zone." This widening gap between the offensive and defensive units is creating a tense, almost fragile atmosphere within the team. The rookie quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, has become a focal point for both fans and teammates. Reports indicate that Sanders' preparation, intelligence, and leadership have earned him considerable respect in the locker room. Teammates have observed his ability to make quick decisions under pressure and deliver accurate passes, skills that the current starters have struggled to demonstrate consistently. One veteran player reportedly commented, "The kid prepares like a starter every single week. He knows the playbook better than some guys who have been here for years, and he can make every throw we ask him to make. I don't understand why he's not getting chances."
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
This tension isn't just about X's and O's. It's about credibility, confidence, and trust within the team. When players lose faith in coaching decisions, it affects preparation, morale, and performance on game day. The combination of offensive struggles, ignored talent, and growing frustration has created a locker room on edge, one where questions about leadership and decision-making are increasingly being voiced privately, if not publicly. If the organization fails to address these concerns, the internal discord could threaten not only the current season, but also the long-term development of its most promising players. The Cleveland Browns' quarterback controversy hasn't just ignited tension within the locker room, it's drawing fire from every corner of the media landscape. National and local analysts alike are questioning Kevin Stefanski's decision-making, portraying the situation as a textbook example of conservative coaching gone too far. Prominent voices across ESPN, NFL Network, and sports radio have openly criticized the team for keeping Shedeur Sanders on the bench while relying on Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel, whose struggles have been painfully obvious. Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back during a recent segment, calling Stefanski's approach coaching scared and embarrassing to watch. He emphasized that every game Sanders sits out is a missed opportunity for the franchise to develop its most talented quarterback. NFL Network's Rich Eisen echoed this sentiment, noting that Flacco's declining performance can't be ignored and that Sanders represents the Browns' best shot at long-term success. Even former quarterbacks turned analysts, like Trent Dilfer, highlighted that young players learn by playing, not by observing. According to Dilfer, every game spent on the sideline is a lost opportunity to gain experience, improve decision-making, and adjust to professional pressure. Local Cleveland media have also amplified the criticism, reflecting the frustration of a fan base long accustomed to questionable quarterback management. Reporters covering the team daily have questioned why Sanders isn't seeing meaningful snaps, pointing out the contrast between his college and preseason production versus Flacco's declining metrics. Some local radio hosts have gone as far as to suggest that Stefanski's job security could hinge entirely on whether he adapts his approach and gives Sanders a real chance. One host bluntly stated, "The fans are demanding change, the media is demanding change, and reportedly ownership is demanding change. At some point, he has to listen." Social media has become an extension of this media scrutiny. Viral clips of Sanders sitting visibly frustrated on the sideline have racked up millions of views, prompting fans and analysts to voice their outrage. Trends like Fire Stefanski and Start Sanders began circulating within minutes of the Browns' recent loss, amplifying the pressure on coaching and front office personnel. Comment sections overflowed with fans crunching statistics, comparing Sanders' impressive college numbers to Flacco's underwhelming professional performance, and demanding accountability from leadership. The convergence of media, experts, and public opinion has created a perfect storm around the Browns' quarterback situation. Analysts emphasize that this isn't simply about losing games, it's about maximizing talent, protecting organizational credibility, and fostering long-term success. Every missed opportunity for Sanders is framed as both a developmental setback for a rookie and a strategic misstep for the franchise. In an environment where pressure from fans, media, and ownership intersects, the Browns face a stark reality. The current approach is unsustainable, and continued inaction could further erode confidence in the coaching staff while putting the development of their most promising player at risk. Shedeur Sanders' rookie season is shaping up to be more about missed opportunities than on-field success. Every snap he doesn't take represents valuable development time lost, time that is crucial for adapting to the speed, complexity, and pressure of professional football. Young quarterbacks grow through experience by making reads in real game situations, adjusting to defensive schemes, and learning to react under pressure. Practice sessions and preseason action can only simulate so much. Nothing compares to live NFL gameplay. Reports from the Browns organization indicate that Sanders has already demonstrated the skills, poise, and decision-making necessary to compete at this level. During limited preseason opportunities, he completed 12 of 19 passes for 129 yards and 1 touchdown, posting a quarterback rating of 100.5, by far the highest among Browns quarterbacks who saw meaningful time. Analysts noted his ability to make accurate throws under pressure, read defenses quickly, and maintain composure during critical moments. Yet, despite these clear indicators, he remains largely sidelined in favor of veteran starters who have struggled to consistently produce wins. The implications of this benching go far beyond the current season. Quarterbacks who are denied early playing experience often face delayed growth, stunted development, and missed opportunities to build confidence in live game settings. NFL experts frequently warn that rookies learn faster through mistakes in real situations than through classroom-style instruction. Sanders limited exposure risks, slowing his adaptation to professional speed, reducing his potential to contribute at the highest level in both the short and long term. Inside the locker room, Sanders' development has become a focal point for teammates. Veteran players have publicly and privately expressed confidence in his abilities, praising his preparation, intelligence, and leadership. One offensive lineman reportedly told local reporters, "The kid looked like he belonged out there. He wasn't nervous, wasn't making rookie mistakes, and he was putting the ball exactly where it needed to be. I don't understand why he's not getting more opportunities." Support from teammates highlights the irony of a talented rookie whose growth is being hindered precisely by the very system meant to nurture him. The situation creates a high-stakes dilemma for the Browns. Continue prioritizing experience over talent, or take the calculated risk to accelerate Sanders' development and potentially reshape the team's future. Every game he sits out is not just a lost opportunity. It's a setback that could reverberate for years, leaving fans, analysts, and the organization questioning whether the Browns are maximizing the potential of their most promising young quarterback. The Browns' current quarterback controversy is far from an isolated incident. It fits into a decades-long pattern of mismanagement at the most critical position in football. Since returning to the NFL in 1999, the franchise has started over 30 different quarterbacks, more than any other team in the league over the same period. Each era has been marked by hopeful rookies or talented young players buried on the depth chart, while veterans, often past their prime, were given repeated opportunities to lead. Tim Couch, the Browns' first quarterback of the modern era, was drafted with high expectations, but inconsistent coaching decisions and an unstable roster prevented him from developing into the franchise cornerstone many envisioned. Following Couch, players like Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Johnny Manziel, and Baker Mayfield all faced variations of the same problem: high-potential talent stifled by conservative coaching or organizational indecision. In each case, promising careers were derailed not by lack of skill, but by a reluctance to trust young quarterbacks in real game situations. The pattern is painfully familiar today. Shedeur Sanders, perhaps the most gifted quarterback prospect the Browns have seen in years, finds himself trapped in the same cycle. College statistics and preseason performance have made his potential clear, yet he remains on the sidelines while older, less effective quarterbacks are given every opportunity to lead. It's a repetition of history. The franchise's conservative philosophy prioritizes perceived stability over calculated risk, resulting in lost development and wasted talent. Analysts and former players have repeatedly pointed out that young quarterbacks need live game experience to grow, yet the Browns continue to resist this fundamental principle. Former Browns quarterback Bernie Kosar, who played during some of the team's most turbulent years, has spoken openly about the importance of giving rookies real opportunities. "You have to let young quarterbacks succeed and fail," Kosar once stated. "That's how they learn, that's how they develop. Sitting on the bench doesn't make anyone better." Kosar's words echo today, illustrating how the organization's recurring pattern has persisted despite decades of lessons learned or unlearned. The consequences of this historical pattern are clear: frequent quarterback changes, stagnant offensive performance, and mounting frustration within the team, media, and fan base. Each misstep feeds into a narrative of dysfunction, reinforcing skepticism about the Browns' ability to build long-term stability. Shedeur Sanders' situation now serves as the latest chapter in this ongoing story, highlighting how deeply ingrained these organizational habits are and how much is at stake if the franchise continues repeating past mistakes. Ultimately, the Browns face a choice: break the cycle by trusting their most talented young quarterback, or continue following a historically proven path of squandered potential. The franchise's reputation, the development of Sanders, and the team's future competitiveness all hang in the balance, making this more than just a quarterback controversy. It's a reflection of the Browns' enduring struggle to manage talent effectively at the league's most pivotal position. The The Cleveland Browns now find themselves at a critical crossroads, one that could define the franchise's trajectory for years to come. The ongoing quarterback controversy surrounding Shedeur Sanders isn't just a debate about talent or potential. It's a stark reflection of the organization's philosophy, priorities, and willingness to adapt. For decades, the Browns have struggled to balance experience against upside, fear against bold decision-making, and tradition against innovation. Sanders' current predicament highlights just how high the stakes are. The choice to finally trust their most promising young quarterback could either usher in a new era of competitiveness or confirm the franchise's history of mismanaged potential. All signs point to Sanders as the future. His college production, preseason poise, and endorsements from teammates and veterans alike paint a picture of a quarterback ready to take the reins. Every statistic, every performance under pressure, and every positive report from within the organization underscores the argument that he deserves meaningful playing time now, not sometime in the distant future. Meanwhile, veteran starters who continue to receive opportunities have demonstrated limitations that cannot be ignored. The contrast is stark, and the evidence is overwhelming. Sanders represents the franchise's best chance to break the cycle of mediocrity that has haunted Cleveland for decades. But the situation is more than a numbers game. It's a test of leadership, culture, and organizational courage. Fans, media, and even ownership are watching closely, expecting decisive action. Kevin Stefanski's conservative approach has drawn widespread criticism, raising questions not only about his judgment, but also about the Browns' ability to modernize and embrace the dynamic nature of the NFL. At the same time, external pressure, from analysts, commentators, and even Sanders' father, adds another layer of urgency, highlighting just how closely every decision is being scrutinized. Ultimately, the Browns face a choice that transcends a single game or a single season. They can continue down the familiar path of caution and stagnation, risking another lost opportunity and prolonged disappointment. Or they can embrace change, give Sanders the platform he has earned, and take a calculated risk that could redefine the franchise. The coming weeks will not just test Sanders' abilities, they will test the Browns' willingness to learn from history, trust in talent, and act decisively. For Cleveland, for Sanders, and for the future of this long-suffering franchise, the clock is ticking, and the next move could shape an entire era.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.